What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Alright, nerds, niggas, topic. I just got done listening to a video on my route, podcast and whatnot, and I'm gonna put the link because I listened to Philip Scott. Some people call him Uncle Phil or whatnot, but I listened to his podcast. I'm gonna put the link out to that video I was listening to if y'all want to listen to it. But the topic of it, they had a young lady who I guess was in China and was walking around with her best friend, quote unquote, and that's kind of gonna be the topic of the discussion. But background story, walking through some mall or whatever with her quote unquote best friends who were Chinese. She's black, she's Chinese, and over there in China, black people, I mean, I'm pretty dark skinned, this chick was darker than me, and over there in China, it's a spectacle, right? Let's not act like Chinese people love us and white people love us, and I often hear that in the world today, like all these different races love us. Like, a fetish and love are two completely different things, and outside of the white people that we know, the ones that we grew up in this society, in these Americas, the ones that snatched us up and indoctrinated us and basically created a byproduct, the ones who made us, they have a weird infatuation that even the others don't have. They don't. They'll use you, they'll means of resources from you, but they don't even have that weird kink a lot of the times that our American white people have when it comes to us and our skin color. Historically documented, while they chopping off penises and putting them in jars and shit like that, historically, and even in the modern times, the way we just can't be left alone. They don't want to give us shit that'll let us get away from them. They ain't trying to hand up their reparations. All of the stuff that just shows like y'all just really got this thing with us, right? The Chinese people, in a sense, they ain't got that. So again, I digress. She's out there with her Chinese friends and whatnot, and people are eyeballing her because the Chinese people, when they see black people, that's not an everyday thing. We're like a thing to them. That's just like, and then there's racism and all that other shit tied into it, right? She's being oogled, fucking Chinese people saying crazy stuff in their language and whatnot. She might not be able to understand it, but the Asian chicks with her are. Apparently she looks around and notices that her Chinese friends aren't walking with her, right? They're not with her. They're a little bit lingering off and this, that, and the other. Long story short, she finds out that the reason behind that is the fact that Wang Mang and Bang and them didn't want to fucking walk with her because, all our Chinese niggas is looking at you and they saying shit and we know what they saying, and it's just too much. It's too much. It's too much, my nigga. It's too much. We can't walk with you being all black and shit in our country, and my niggas being racist towards you and shit. I'm so overwhelmed. So I'm gonna fall back because, bitch, shit, right? Apparently that was the sentiment. And my problem is not the fact that Chinese people didn't want to fuck with her while they people fucked with her, right? You supposed to be my best friend, your people fucking with me, and that makes you not want to fuck with me? That doesn't make any sense, but that's part of the course. That's what they do, and that's kind of how it's supposed to be, right? Because we're kind of supposed to be figuring things out amongst each other at the end of the day. Not being really discriminatory, but just being delineatory. I know that's not a fucking word, but it sounds good. So we're not really supposed to be, right? I'm not mad at the Chinese folk for doing what they do and saying what they say. I'm not mad at the chick for being over there, even though I want to be. Because I ain't saying niggas can't travel, niggas can't do. I'm not, because when I get to being able to break these bonds and shackles, I'm going to travel, I'm going to do. So I'm not saying that. But what I am mad about is the tears that young lady was crying the weeping that she was doing because she had to come to a realization that her Chinese friends, her best friend, was not your fucking best friend. And that makes me upset because we're not here for that. We need to get out of that. It's one of those things that breaks up the idea of community. If you're constantly running to other races and other communities and other backgrounds and other identities to try and identify with something, you're gonna end up like that, fucking crying because racism, like you didn't know, like you didn't fucking know, right? And I don't want this to turn into a bash, because it's not a bash, but it definitely ties into the community aspect of it. There's nowhere that you're gonna go as a black FBA. There's nowhere you're gonna go where you're not gonna get those types of sentiments. Yeah, it's just very, very saddening. It's very, very saddening to see. I understand that as a scattered people, we are placed everywhere, and we have absorbed so many different cultures and so many different things that we were forced to live under. But as a people, men and women alike, we need to come together, and not just always physically, but definitely mentally, because there's a code that needs to be kept, because they do the same things. They keep things within themselves, and Chinese people ain't over here trying to assimilate into black culture. Nah, they rather just steal the shit and take it over where they at. Nah, we not coming over there to rap in your neighborhood. We just gonna take the shit back to China. You know what I'm saying? Or we not here to be gangster and hood next to y'all. No, we just gonna take it and be gangster and hood in our own ways and just take it, right? Like, that type of stuff happens all the time. So I'm probably missing some thoughts that I want to throw out there. Probably some funny shit that I had to say. But come on, man. We got to figure that type of shit out. But yeah, I'm going to try to post the link to that video. Yeah, man, that shit detrimental. We got to get up out of that. That girl need to come on home. She need to come on home and deal with the difficulties of being around your own people, because we out here running around with all these other peoples like there's not difficulty in that. Like a nigga hanging out with a whole bunch of white people ain't got no fucking difficulties, my nigga. Like, that's some wild ass shit. How the fuck do we act? But how are those difficulties better to deal with than the difficulties it would be to deal with your own niggas? Because at least those difficulties you can understand. At least if I'm walking through a mall and some motherfuckers call me some niggas or some N-words, my nigga ain't gonna blink off and go off nowhere. Yeah, we might have to argue about who sit in the front seat, or we might have to argue, or shit, we might have to up Dracos on somebody. The ideas that we live with in this fucking society as black people, and them are the struggles. The cops might fuck with us if it's more than 5 of us in the group. Yeah, them the struggles you deal with, but why are you running from that to go to a whole nother country to deal? Like I said, that's why I'm really, really adamant on connecting with my people. I'm really, really adamant on us figuring out how to come together, because a small little simple example of a little chickadee crying over there in another country because of her friends that ain't her friends, and racism that apparently she didn't think existed. It's like, man, that shit escalates. It can turn into bigger things. It turns into shit swinging from trees. It turns into, shit getting cut off, and people just like, yeah, it's a small example to a greater idea that we need to wrap our heads around. So yeah, again, shout out to Philip Scott podcast and what he be doing, 'cause I think he got like 5 of them joints. But yeah, I'm gonna post the link to the video that I saw. And yeah, love.